is migration good or bad? I believe in an open world. I believe in a world where people have opportunities, where they can get new influences, improve their lives, and I would hopefully like to see those opportunities come to the benefit of the Republic of Moldova one day. Migration's a fact of life. Good, bad, but it's a fact of life. It's been a fact of life for centuries, for millennia. Just read the Old Testament. There's a lot of migration there as well. Now, if we look at the benefits of migration, from a country which is still in a developing phase, of course you understand that with the economic and other realities you had in Moldova in the country's 25 years of independence, the amount of opportunities wasn't quite there. So it's quite understandable that people who had possibilities migrated. Migration has been good for these families, it's been good in an educational sense, but now what we are trying to promote, and if you look at our migration-related programs we've had, we are trying to promote management of migration and also what you'd say circular migration. Because migration can really benefit the society when it becomes circular, when people start coming back. And very often, migrants who have left, when the conditions at home, and I'm sure that we will talk more about this, improve, in fact have bigger opportunities due to their vast experience, due to their ability to really give to their own society when they come back. So I would say on the whole, migration is a positive, is really a positive phenomenon, but hopefully it will also give new impulses to the country where the migrants originally have come from.
Uniunea Europeană pe parcursul anilor a implementat mai multe proiecte grație cărora au fost create locuri de muncă, au fost lansate afaceri, start-up-uri. Doar pentru perioada 2014-2017, prin instrumentul european de vecinătate, au fost alocate de la 335.000 de euro la 410.000. Care sunt rezultatele?
I would say that the results are quite good. And it's often that at this time when, let's be honest, there has been quite a bit of disappointment within Moldovan society, we tend to forget to really look at where we have had successes. If you, for instance, look at the PARE 1+1 program, you've seen migrants come back or invest in companies here. I've seen the products they are producing. They're high quality. You really see that this sort of benefit does come through. Other programs, if you look at business development, SME development programs between the left and right bank of the Nistra River, which is a confidence building program, here we have business people talking to each other. What I think will be really the proof of the pudding of our programs on SMEs and is to which extent we will see a strengthening of a Moldovan middle class. Because if you look at income differences in this country, they are very strong. But countries with a strong middle class usually start transforming. Now, could we have more results with these programs and in future programs? I'm sure we could. And I think the business environment is one you need to fight. You really need to fight against corruption, get a justice system which functions based on the rule of law, because that gives the stability and predictability which you need to sort of get this kind of enterprises going and to really get benefit from, for instance, the business development programs we've had under the economic stimulation of rural areas, under other programs which we've had.
Printre migranți, o mare parte sunt medici și potrivit datelor Centrului Național de Management în domeniul sănătății, actualmente avem cam 6,6 medici la 10.000 de locuitori, ceea ce este mult mai puțin decât sunt prevederile și standardele europene în acest domeniu. În același timp știu că problema emigrării medicilor este una comună pentru mai multe țări, inclusiv pentru cele din Uniunea Europeană. Care au fost politicile adoptate de către comunitatea europeană pentru a soluționa această problemă? Care dintre aceste măsuri credeți că ar fi aplicabile pentru Moldova?
Well, let's look at what we have been already looking at in terms. I talked about migration management, and for instance, in the health sector, we have tried to find ways of how to really encourage circular migration of medical staff as well. I think every country, in a way, needs to have their own solutions. But we do realize that you have a medical sector where even if there has been a certain amount of talk about raising salaries in the medical sector, you have to look at what are the career incentives, what are the possibilities, how can you really get good doctors back. And I think that this is one thing where, even if we don't have a very clear policy on this, but it's one thing where you really need to look at what are the resources, what are the ways of starting to develop the medical sector to make it both deliver really high quality medical care to the population, but also to be profitable for healthcare providers. Now I'll go to a completely different sector here. I mean, I'll give you an example. We have had a very successful twinning on public-private partnerships. Would there, for instance, be something in the medical field where you could really develop public-private partnerships with medical insurance schemes, where you could provide an attractive working environment for medical staff? The problem, of course, is that, and it's not a problem, it's a great benefit for Moldova, that your medical education is in fact very high quality. And those doctors who have left have found themselves with quite good jobs. But I have met also doctors here who are coming back. It is, medical migration is a problem, and in many European countries, EU member states, where you have had your own medical professionals migrate. So, of course, the reality there has been that countries, for instance, from our Eastern Partnership countries, I mean doctors from our Eastern Partnership countries have come and filled those vacancies. This has been good for us, but I think we need to look at how to get those incentives in place, whether it's, for instance, by higher salaries, which is not enough, and certainly I don't see the budget being able to take sort of European level salaries. But is it sort of other things? Is it support for housing, others which could be done? I mean, there are many ways of looking at this, but you do need policies, and I think it's going to be, these policies need to be much more holistic in healthcare reform than just related to migration.
Recent, guvernul de la Chișinău a adoptat o asemenea decizie de a majora salariile personalului medical. Credeți că o asemenea măsură este suficientă pentru a-i menține acasă?
First of all, I would welcome the decision. It is clear that if you look at the income levels of medical staff, there is a serious problem. But at the same time, as I already mentioned, if you look at the budgetary realities, others, it's certainly not going to be enough. And you need to look at the incentive system as a whole. You need to also look at what kind of private healthcare opportunities there are. You need to look at the at reform of the healthcare system from those two sides. How do you get the best quality of services in a manner which ensures that the population does get those services, and that those services can be delivered to the population in a way which is economically viable for both the citizen, which is the most important thing, and for the state. And then what is the overall incentive system to get the doctors back and get nurses back? So I think that there are many levels here. Salaries, that's one issue, but reforms in trying to really get transformation to work, really trying to get those incentives in place, those reforms usually need to be much more broad than just sort of one element of them.
Domnule ambasador, în opinia dumneavoastră, ce politici ar trebui să adopte guvernul de la Chișinău pentru a diminua acest flux al migrației, de a stopa îmbătrânirea societății și de a oferi mai multe oportunități tinerilor să se realizeze aici în țară, dar și pentru a rechema, a reîntoarce migranții din țările europene, din Rusia, acasă?
I think that the main issue is really to move towards transformation of the society. For instance, through the association agreement, we've opened the richest, largest market in the world for the Republic of Moldova. This provides enormous opportunities. The country is just on the border. You have infrastructure links. You have all possibilities to trade with the EU. It should be an absolute no-brainer for European and other global investors to come here, put production here, put service provision here. We've liberalized services as well, and use Moldova as a base. Now, when those jobs and opportunities are there, you will certainly see that people will come back here. And we already talked about small and medium-sized enterprises. With a growing business infrastructure, you will also see that small and medium-sized service provision will grow. Now, there's a little but here, not so little in fact, and that is that, and we've talked about this many times, none of the things we're trying to do and help will really have a fundamental effect unless two conditions are fulfilled. The first is the rule of law. This means you need to have a justice system which provides a level playing field for businesses, for investors to feel safe to come here and to see, hey, this is going to be good for me. And that's also the same for small and medium-sized enterprises. That's also the same for people to come back. And then there's the corruption question. You've seen our campaign of showing a red card for corruption, because unless this is really addressed, not in terms of declarations, but really through concrete action, the investment climate won't take that quantum leap which you really need in order to get people to start believing that, hey, not just do we have the structural possibilities of functioning with the largest, most successful market in the world, but we have the real conditions on the ground. So I would say that focusing on strengthening the rule of law, providing that level playing field, making it easy to register businesses, and ensuring that people do not have to fight with corruption, that they do not have to meet corruption in that process, that'll get people back, and that'll bring success to this country.
Domnule ambasador, dumneavoastră sunteți cel care ați urmărit îndeaproape evoluțiile din spațiul Europei de Est. În ce măsură aveți un sentiment de optimism pentru evoluțiile, pentru schimbările de mai departe și dacă sunteți optimist, atunci care sunt factorii care vă alimentează?
Now, I will surprise you because I know that many people see me as somebody who's quite critical quite often, and I'm sort of pointing, that's not going in the right way. Hey, there's a problem. The EU is concerned about this and so on. And yes, we are. And I think that from one side, we're in a moment where people see how big the challenges of transformation of this region are. And I think that we underestimated that earlier, looking at the experience we had with Central Europe, looking at the sort of social cohesion between the political elites and the populations in really wanting to go one way in terms of transformation, development, and so on. But I insist that I remain an optimist. And I think there is more reason to be optimistic than ever before, because usually transformation requires a few generations. 25 years, it's a quarter of a century. I was born 25 years after the end of the Second World War. A lot had changed in that time. But first and foremost, I think mentalities have changed. And I do see in the region as a whole, Ukraine, I think, is a very clear example of this, more and more citizens who want and demand to be treated like citizens, not like subjects, who want ownership of their society, and who are starting to have what I would say a positive agenda. Because sometimes, I mean, you've had all kinds of reactions earlier, but people have said what they don't want. But when people start saying what we want rule of law, we want possibilities of, we don't want to deal with corruption, we want accountability, that starts building a dynamic in society. And I see this dynamic strengthening everywhere in Eastern Europe. And I think that that is the one thing which makes me optimistic, that there will be ownership from societies of their futures and a demand of societies just simply to live better with the rule of law. And I think that that keeps me very optimistic.